Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Southern Iowa. We were blessed. For the last little bit, headed into the end of June, we caught a 2-inch rain. We were very, very, very dry. Very happy about that. But today, we're working on grain bin stuff. We've continued our partnership with GSI this year, bring you guys more grain bin grain bin content, or grain storage content. I don't know the best way to say that, but it's one of those. I probably got them all covered there. We are going to be working on moving some electrical tubing in and getting the site prepped for concrete here today. It's unbelievably sweaty. Molly decided that I needed to go get a haircut. She picked out my haircut, and she decided that I was to be business in the front and party. You like that? I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we let Molly roll with one of them. I'm also entering a barbecue competition this Saturday, so my long, scraggly planting hair, it was time for it to disappear. So it's hot, it's sweaty. We're gonna go dig in the mud, hopefully. Fingers crossed we can actually get what we want to do done. So I've decided to purchase, and we will be running through the financial parts of this here in the video too, of what I've decided, why I've made the decision to invest in another grain bin. But it's going to be really hard for you guys to imagine what this grain bin is going to look like. It's basically a 42 ring by 7, and that's 1, 2, oh yeah, no, it looks exactly like that grain bin right there. So not hard to kind of imagine what we're building this year. The only difference is that the grain bin that we're going to be putting up this year does not have a vertical unload on it. It is going to just come out straight. That way I hope to tie them all into a drag at some point in time. The center of our grain bin is going to be right here. The drag will come out straight this way. The next bins to be built are basically a mirror image of these 3 bins flipped over here. We're starting with this one. That spot, if you guys have seen the plans or the design for this, that area is being left open for a drying system or a receiving system, everything along those lines. The other thing that's different on this bin is that it has 2 15 horsepower fans on it for the grain view system to try and really use it to its full capacity to dry corn or rehydrate soybeans. Control air, it's 3-phase, which is why we're working on this today. We have to bring one of the conduits over this way. We'll be putting 1 panel on this bin, and that'll service all the bins that way in the future. And then we're gonna loop the other couple services, probably just loop them out over here. And since we're digging in that area anyways, we'll extend them. I think there's either 3 or 4 pipes buried there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we'll find out. The other thing that I'm doing is we're leaving, say, 15 feet or so in between the 2 fans, even though and they'll be staggered at least too. So like you'll be able to bring a skid steer or a service truck or anything like that right down the middle of these bins. We're gonna mark kind of the outside loop of the bin, and then we'll get to digging. Yeah. It's like 900% humidity right now, doesn't it? Yeah. I like it.
Good chance I could be shirtless.
If you see Jake walking around with one of them blurs all the way around his body today, you'll know why. It's for your benefit. Yeah, there's his mark. So somebody was really smart and thinking ahead when they dug the conduits in when the 3-phase was installed, which was, I can look on the grain bin, but 1 conduit went around to the front side of the bin, and there's plenty of power on that side to do other stuff. But someone was smart and dug their conduits already through here and had it in a spot where they could easily get to them for the next project. I don't know who would have had the IQ to do that. That's marked with the wooden lath, but those have been in the ground now for 2022. So they're coming up on their 3rd year, because this was built the summer of 22. So it's their 3rd year anniversary in the ground. Well, I'll go grab a blue excavator. People hate how I say excavator, but it's an excavator. Sorry, a little speech deal. Let's sweat. Jake's been hauling rock. Here's some video clips of that.
We're in a dump truck. We're gonna be hauling some rock today. Headed to the rock quarry over here. They call it it's in Walnut City. So we'll pick you up when we're in the quarry getting loaded. First load's 4.69s, just a little shy of 5 ton. With the little dump truck, we can only haul 5 ton at a time. So if you really look at it, with it being so close, which we're not, I went a couple miles. The big dump trucks, they have a set amount for short distance, just so they're making money too on the end of it, on their end. So with been having this truck, it's in the long run probably saves him his money, but the downside of it is we can only haul 5 ton at a time. About 5 ton of rock on the ground. We're loaded with load number 2. The first ticket was time when I got it was like 12:43, and this one I called, the time on it was 1:01. So you can do the math there. Quick turnaround for loads being this close to the quarry. Well, I'm on the load 12, and it's the last load of the day. They close in 10 minutes. So I'm not going to be able to get another one. 12 loads, and roughly 5 ton piles. We'll go over to the shop and find out what we're doing the rest of the day.
Well, that should be enough rock. For reference, it's about a $2,000 pile of rock. Rock's pricey. So I'm gonna hang out here and wait for Jake to dig that out by hand. I would get out and help, but we're union around here, and that's not my job description. So I'm the operator, he's the laborer. So if I go and help him, then I'm technically kind of taking his job away from him, you know, even though that'd be the efficient thing to do. So no, we're gonna get to digging here, but we got to figure out where it is. I'm almost thinking we should probably maybe go get the tile probe, so I don't bust the ends off of them. But
is it far? It's right at the end of it.
Did you hear that? Say that your question again.
I said, is this right at the end of the pipe?
What'd you do 2 days ago?
What?
What'd you do 2 days ago?
What did I do 2 days ago?
I don't know what you did 2 days ago, but you're asking me what I did 3 years ago. I don't know if it's off to the side of it, at the end of it. I feel like I probably would have put him at the end of it. It would be my guess. So here, grab the people.
There was two, they'd be right next to each other, wouldn't they?
There should be 3 there.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that they're all like the same length pipe, you know.
So I got most of them, all 4 of them exposed best I can for now. Water's draining out of all of them. Need some paper towels to kind of get this stuff cleaned up.
So we're hand sawing off this pipe because the chainsaw didn't work because the sawzall must be at the tongue attach. But we're gonna take that to town with us to make sure I get the right pipe. I think it's 2-inch, but we're gonna make sure we get the right stuff. There we go. We're gonna run, go grab, we measured, we need 5 sticks. Well, 5, 6 if they're 20 foot. More than that if they're 10 foot. I don't know what size those stuff comes in, so. But they're doing some road work here next to the shop, probably working on a culvert or something. Tube secured. Time for lunch. So in other non-farm news, Molly signed me up for a barbecue competition, or I've signed me up for a barbecue competition, local Centerville barbecue competition, barbecue and brew. So we're gonna be giving her a go, trying to cook some stuff, but lunch has been good the last couple weeks because there's been a lot of practice of the barbecue. I might put a poll on Facebook to see if I should make a video about entering a barbecue competition or not. First deal type of thing. But I gotta cook 4 proteins. I gotta cook brisket, which I might cook 2 briskets. You're supposed to cook 1 brisket. You're supposed 30 pounds of pork ribs, 3 pork butts, and 5 whole chickens. So I'm doing shredded chicken tostadas for my barbecue, bacon cured $1 million pork ribs, Dr. Pepper pulled pork, Simple Man brisket, and then we're gonna do a smoked cobbler with homemade ice cream as the dessert for the chance to win the popular vote. So there's that. Lots of ribs, coleslaw, beans, everything. Diet's going fantastic. As we hammer on some lunch, I'll send you guys to go chat with future me about the financials behind choosing to build the bin. And I'll see you back here to put some PVC in the ground. Yeah. Well, let's talk financial decisions on why I've made this decision to invest in a grain bin. There's something that I've always stated. As a younger person in farming, this is my 11th season. What I have found to be the best investments so far on the farm are grain storage and field tile. And they kind of both work hand in hand. The more tile you install, the more grain you produce, the more storage you need. But for me, my production has increased to the point where I'm not just short on storage, but significantly short on storage. And I'm not saying like you just rented a farm and then now building the grain bin because you did that. It's just consistently over the last years, I've had to take a lot of grain just directly to town right off the combine because there's no storage. That, or been shoving it into like 6,000 bushel grain bins. That is not very efficient at all and costly in itself to be using those smaller farm storage grain bins. This project is going to bring in just around the cost of about $80,000. Consequently, the same cost as the wet bin, but I already have some infrastructure set up. So there's some expenses that I get to move around. Actually, the total cost of this project is going to be a little bit more than that, but two things kind of went in my favor. A, I'm putting some cash down to do the electrical and buy the rock for the grain bin, and then on the flip side of it, because where the grain bins are located, that is my dad's ground, so basically my dad was my collateral for the loan part of the facility, so thanks, Dad. So that kind of worked in my favor. So the loan on this grain bin is $80,000 over 10 years. So that is what the cost that I am putting into needing to service over the next 10 years with this grain bin. As I looked at that financially into the operation to build this bin, but can we make it work for us? And actually the financials look pretty decent on it. There's a couple of ways that you can really get loans for this. I just use a traditional loan through my bank, which is Farm Credit. But there's also the FSA, which has low interest rate loans. A lot of more hoops that you have to jump through to get an FSA loan. But the low interest rate does make that very attractive. The annual payment on that loan happens to be $11,000, $11,100. That makes my payment per bushel on that grain storage 34.6 cents. We'll round up to 35 cents. That is a lot better than my wet bins payment, which I've been doing those financial videos for you guys on did this grain bin pay. The bigger your grain bin goes, your cost of per bushel of storage goes down. So the bigger the grain bin you can build, the easier it is to pay for it. Now, per bushel wise, the cost of the actual grain bin does go up. So can I make the 34 cents to pay this and basically have a non-negative cash flow or even a positive cash flow by building an asset? With building this, we have the tax benefits of two-sided. One, I get to depreciate the grain bin now in various forms depending on how you want to do it. I'm not a big bonus depreciation guy because a lot of the stuff that I buy, I have to have loans on, and I don't want to get myself into a spot where I bonus depreciate something to avoid taxes, then have to make the income to make the payments. So a lot of the times I just take straight depreciation on this. I think the grain bins are 7 years, but I think it's 7 years on the grain bins, but you can depreciate the grain bin out. You also then get the tax benefit of deciding when to market your grain. So, you know, if right now that 32,000 bushel, we'll just say easy math, there's $120,000 worth of corn that could go into that at $4. It's a little more than that, actually like $130,000 worth of corn that can go in that. So you can move that income from one year to the other depending upon when you market. Yes, you can defer, but then you have to deliver before that year anyways. But that's another tax benefit. And then if you were to fill that with soybeans, right now $10 soybeans, that's $320,000 worth of crop that's in that bin. So there's a huge swing in income that you can manage tax benefit wise with storage. So I now have that weapon in my tool chest. The other benefit, which we talked about in last year's videos in the down market, like, does the grain bin still pay in terms of harvest ease and being able to get more harvested in the day times money? And we tried to put a figure on that. So that's in there. I think there's real money in being able to put grain directly into the grain bin versus going and sitting in line at the elevators. That cost, and then you're also the subject to the hours that the elevators are running during harvest. So going to the grain bin gives you benefits that way. With the other benefit with the grain view system that I plan to put in there, I'll be able to dry the corn to a a good level, or rehydrate soybeans if soybeans go in there. So there's a benefit that way too, especially, man, if you put soybeans in there, like in between the basis and everything else like that, and you actually push money into the grain bin, that really maths well. On top of that, we're avoiding the I actually never do it, but the commercial storage costs that a lot of guys do. I've never used commercial storage, but I do rent some grain bins, which I will probably terminate those leases this year, because this will help me move into it, which those will be some small farm grain bins. But there's money that I'm not shelling out that I can put towards this grain bin. And the other one that we have to look at here for us is also the improvement in the basis and the improvement in the markets in between harvest and into the next growing season. This one's really simple for us, and now this might be geographically for you guys completely different. Our local elevators right now are 55 cents under, and the Cargill in Eddyville, where a lot of our corn goes to, right now is flat, so it's 0. So there's a 55-cent swing in between taking it local versus storing it and taking it to Cargill. That's 55 cents. My payment on it's 35 cents. I've made 20 cents on basis, math-wise, right there by putting grain into that grain bin. The other thing I get a look at this year is I did buy a semi-truck and trailer, so I can stop paying custom fees to have grain hauled, and or pay myself to have grain hauled or supply hours to a hired guy, creating a job during the winter when things might be a little bit slower, spread the time out and the workload out. So based upon all these things, along with my risk level that I feel comfortable with, I decided it's time to build the next grain bin. In the plans of that grain bin facility, I've even laid out what my plans are, kind of my vision wise for that grain bin facility is over the future. Those are in other GSI videos, which there's a playlist for all our GSI videos up there. You guys can kind of see how things have progressed over these years. I also do believe right now is probably a good time to be building a grain bin. With lower commodity prices, or low commodity prices, I see there's more of a chance for upward movement in the grain. So if you say put $4 corn in there, I feel like there's more of a chance for it to go to $6 than if you were to say put $6 corn into your grain bin. I think you have the downside, which we've seen, then more of the upside. I mean, in 2020 through 2021, I think was the year. Yeah, 2020 to 2021, there was over $2 a bushel of capture there. That goes a long ways to about paying for a grain bin in 1 year. So that'd be pretty darn awesome. But that's why we're doing this project. More GSI videos for you guys to come. Let's finish the site bin prep, or electrical prep. Well, when we were adventuring, the hole filled with water. Not surprised. So one of the challenges that we have is we're trying to put bends into these extend these off this way. Show you kind of how we're doing that. We're not experts. We tried the little torch, that didn't really work. So we went and got the big torch.
Then we ran out of propane.
Then we ran out of propane. And we got real world problems because I gotta make up men's league today, so I'm down to like less than 30 minutes of work. Then we're leaving holes open. But maybe we might be able to get the pipes in. I've seen videos online where guys like attach this to like a pipe that's hooked to their skid steer, and then they'll let the hot exhaust just run through the pipe for a little bit, the Schedule 40, and it like makes it into like a loose noodle and they can just flop it around wherever they want. That's a pretty slick way of doing it. Set it there and see if we're going to be able to bend it. Do the closest one to the bin, the wet bin first. This time. Okay, I'll grab some rock real quick and we'll put a load of rock right on that, okay?
Okay. Time to do some sketchy.
Huh?
Time to do some sketchy. Doo-dah. You're right, that track is right on the edge of the trench.
Can you shovel it?
Yeah.
So in 3 years when you ask where is this at, it's at the very end of the pipe.
Now we got it on footage now, so we won't remember. Got some friends in the trench with me. Oh, right there. Oh, and Gary goes right over there. I've tried helping them out. Ben's tried helping them out. They just don't want to leave the trench, I guess. I'm not going to be in the trench for this one. Even though that water would be nice and cool, I really don't want to get any wetter than I am.
Well, that gets us, where's my, oh, right there it is. That gets us, there's my alarm to tell me to stop working. So, right on time. That rarely happens. So, there it is, laid in. I'm gonna backfill that with rock, but I'm gonna let this settle out here a little bit. And then we'll be able to pick up the digging on that to put the electrical box onto the bin in the future. But that kind of gives you guys an idea of the start and why I've decided to build another grain bin this year. So full link of playlist to GSI stuff is there. More information in the description. Other than that, I'm going golfing. See you guys later.